Women's clubs in a football league in Sheffield are refusing to play matches over safety concerns after a transgender player, a man in another team, injured a female opponent. The player, Francesca Needham, has since agreed to withdraw for the foreseeable future, but now intends to pursue a case for, guess what, discrimination. Now, joining me right now is Director of Sport at Fair Play for Women. That's Fiona McAnena. Good afternoon to you, Fiona.
Hi, Julia.
Hi, thanks so much for joining us. In fact, you know, it was Fair Play for Women who first got me involved in this cause. Goodness me, how many years ago? How much have things moved on? I'm always thrilled when we see more and more women standing up on this. We had a pool player recently. We've had cyclists, we've had swimmers, we have many others just saying, up with this, we will not put any more. But in a sport like football, where it's not just unfairness of women having to play against a biological man, that's what a trans woman is, a man, it's when there's physical contact. And we've seen, you know, the idea that boxing, wrestling, MMA, the idea that some of that should involve men v women, really worrying. But even in football, the reason why these women in these Sheffield Women's Football League have said, look, we don't want to play the team that's got the trans player in, Rossington Ladies, because they're saying, look, we've had one player who's basically was out of action for several months because they got injured, because the size of the trans player is a different size from the average woman player. Therefore, there is a risk of injury. This is so obvious. Why did no one think of this before?
Yes, and it's not just size, because even if the player was the same size as a woman, that player's male body gives them enormous strength and speed advantages. So there isn't any more sensible way of organising a contact sport like football other than dividing by sex. Yeah. And the issue here is not discrimination because this player is trans. It's, as you say, the problem is that it's not safe or fair for the women if they have to have a male player on the pitch. Yeah. And that's we've all known that.
It's really that simple, isn't it? And it's for safety reasons. This is not anyone hating this player. The trans player is welcome to play football, but as the sex that he was born, which is as a man. And it doesn't matter what you wear, what clothes you put on, how you have your hair, how you change your name, or even any chemical or surgical treatment. That will not stop you being biologically a male and therefore having that higher bone density, higher level, higher proportion of muscle, weight, as you say, speed and strength that the average woman, or even the most exceptional woman, simply can't match.
Yeah, something's gone a bit wrong where these organisations have started to think that people's identity matters. And it's funny because, you know, we've always said that those things shouldn't matter, that you shouldn't be disadvantaged because of your ethnicity or your religion or your sexual orientation. And yet here we are, taking up this notion of gender identity and putting it front and center when the only thing that matters in sport is your body, your sex, your age, and then on top of that, your skill. And so it's very unfair on all the women. And the thing that's troubling to us as Fair Play for Women is why everyone thinks that the feelings of this person to be validated and recognized as a woman matter more than fairness and safety for all the women who play in this league.
And it's not even just women. I mean, we're talking about girls, and this league has some 16-year-old girls in it, getting to football perhaps for the first time into this league. We always say we want to get more women into the sport, but if you're playing against men, the reality is it doesn't matter what the sport is. There's been loads of analysis, hasn't there? It doesn't matter what the sport is, if it's running, if it's throwing things, if it's swimming, it's cycling, football, wrestling, boxing, whatever, weightlifting, whatever it is, the average man can often, you know, at those sports playing professionally, can beat the most exceptional women. The average 16-year-old athlete in school in America will beat the #1 women because of the height, weight, strength, bone density, and all muscle advantages and steroid advantages, not steroids, you know, the testosterone advantages that men have. This is being recognised. There has been a real change, hasn't there? I think an awful lot of men are waking up to the unfairness. Women are saying, you know what? I don't care what you call me. I ain't taking a physical risk, and I'm just not going to be. I'm not going to be cheated against, because that's kind of how most of us see it. It's an average man trying to beat exceptional women by cheating.
Well, I think that the men in sport also should recognise that they have an obligation to be welcoming to all identities. As long as those players have male bodies, they belong in the teams that are for men and not in the teams that are for women. And so instead, the pressure's been put on women to accommodate all the people who don't feel comfortable anymore. And, you know, as you say, women are waking up. It's not our problem. It's not our job to accommodate these people, not at our own expense.
No,
And
exactly.
these teenage
Where are all the trans men, i.e. biological women, who are trying to get into male sport? Is that not a thing?
Well, I don't think they have the same sense of entitlement, for one thing, and nor do they have the same advantage. So no, of course not. They're not a threat to men in sport. Yeah. Whereas a trans woman, as you rightly say, a male, brings all that advantage. All these studies have been done. It cannot be reversed, and that's why these people turn up. And if you heard the stories from the teams who played this player, they talk about the advantage and how this person could run all over the pitch, and the women were just bouncing off when they tried to tackle. Yeah. So it's very evident to anyone who's involved in sport that you cannot accept this. And
but we're always told it's just a few people. But actually, this is taking over, and often sporting prizes and awards. Oh, Player of the Year, Woman Player of the Year has been given to a biological male. Of these, you know, in America we see this in sport. We see this Olympics and world championships. That there are more and more and more men claiming that they are living as women. Often no surgery, no nothing. They're parading themselves around the changing rooms naked. Again, utterly inappropriate as well. We'd never expect that in any other walk of life. I am so pleased that organisations like yours have been standing up on this issue for so long. Thank you for doing that, giving those women the courage. We should be applauding every single one of those women for standing up. It's not bigotry, it's not transphobia, standing up for women's safety and women's rights and, frankly, fair sport. So thank you very much, Fiona McAnena. Thank you for that from Fair Play for Women.